Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we are discussing the Shannon Sharpe versus Skip Bayless divorce and who is winning it. Because I'll show you guys this tweet here from Awful Announcing. Now, this is kind of a startling headline title here. This is the title here of this article. Shannon Sharpe's post Super Bowl nightcap brought more live viewers than Undisputed averaged last week. That is very shocking. Now, I did read the article. I wasn't going to read the whole article in front of you guys, but I did read it. If you want to read it, go to Awful Announcing. Basically, just go Awful Announcing, Shannon Sharpe, Skip Bayless. You'll probably find it. But I did get kind of like the big key notes here because, there's a lot of ways to look at this. You might be like, well, the Shannon Sharpe, thing, it's like really taking off, so maybe it's not that surprising. I think this is very shocking because if you're just talking about linear TV versus like, YouTube, stream. That's what they're talking about here. They're not talking about total views. Because if it's total views, it's like, okay, over time, people eventually find it. Like, no, this was live after the Super Bowl, where people like after their Super Bowl were like, hey, I'm gonna go listen to Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson talk. Versus, hey, Skip Bayless has had this morning show for like 8 years now, and I want to go and watch him talk. And he's been around in the sports talk consciousness for like multiple decades. So this is very shocking to me. To get a few specific numbers here. Excuse me. So Nightcap had 90,000 live viewers, and after like a day of it being online, it had 700,000 views. Undisputed right now is struggling to top 80,000 viewers daily. The lowest that they had last week of the Super Bowl week, so pre-Super Bowl, because I'm recording this like Thursday after the Super Bowl. The lowest that they had, Undisputed had, was Wednesday before the Super Bowl. They got 64,000 viewers. Tuesday they had 89,000 viewers. But this is very, very interesting here. So now I'm going to talk about the Shannon Sharpe part of this first, and we'll kind of end on the Skip Bayless part of this first. Because this was a very interesting sports, personality story that we've had develop, in the past year. Because it was like they break up, and obviously they had been together for like 7 years, which is like a really long time. And it was kind of like there was two big questions. It was like, well, what is Shannon going to do? And then what's Skip going to do? For the Shannon part of this, it was like, okay, what is he going to do? Is he really going to go to like First Take and do the same thing? Is he going to go and keep doing his own like podcast thing? Like he's old, he's in his 50s now. He's got, a lot of money from his playing days, sponsorship deals, doing this show. Does he just kind of like, go off into the sunset and, do whatever? Does he go to like a NFL like pregame show and do something like that? And he's doing like pre and post game stuff, like what is he going to do? And Shannon has just like hit a home run with every single thing that he has done since he left Undisputed, because he leaves, he's still continuing to do the podcast he was doing while he was doing Undisputed, and that had like a record breaking like amount of views with the Cat Williams video, if you remember that, like a few months ago. And then he starts this other show with like, Chad Johnson, which I kind of saw at first. I'm like, well, what do they even have in common? Like, what's the connection here? What's going on? And it's like, I see breakout views from that show every single day. And all of them are interesting, and I watch every single one of them. And it just appears to be like an incredibly entertaining show. And then he's also being able to still go on to First Take like once or twice a week and still kind of do his thing there. He's, I think Stephen A has helped kind of bring him up a little bit here, and he is just flat out every way it is just being successful, where he's doing like a little bit of kind of like, traditional media with First Take, even though it's weird to call it First Take traditional media. But then he's also just killing it with this podcasting YouTube world too. And he's kind of even transcending like sports talk, and he's kind of just becoming like a pop culture personality. Like I have a friend that like, doesn't even necessarily watch that much sports, but he'll send me Shannon Sharpe clips all the time because it's, he's funny. He's a personality. And just home run for Shannon. And the weird thing too about this wasn't the plan. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to break off from Skip because I know I can be better. It was more like, no, like, I'm getting tired of, hanging out with Skip Bayless every day. And I just want to, be away from that. And it's just, I know this wasn't planned, but like, man, it has been an absolute home run, like 8 or 9 months for Shannon here. To the Skip Bayless part of this. This is bad. This is very, very bad for Skip. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of Skip Bayless. I've probably watched a lot more First Take and Undisputed in my life than I'd like to admit. Um, I think there's because I think the thing that I think a lot of people get mad about with Skip is a lot of times with his arguments, it's like he works backwards from his conclusion, where it's like he knows that like, all right, the LeBron James's team wins. It was anyone but LeBron's doing that they won. And I'm going to work backwards from that conclusion. And then it's like if LeBron James's team loses, it's like they lost. It has to be LeBron James's fault, and I'm not going to accept any other answer otherwise. And it's kind of like a weird shtick, but it does kind of captivate a lot of people. And if you kind of look at what Skip has been doing with Undisputed, they kind of tried to follow the First Take model, because what First Take did was they got rid of Max Kellerman, and then it was like, hey, it's going to be Stephen A versus a random assortment of people. And that's kind of like what their plan was, with Skip at Undisputed. It was like, all right, well, we're going to have Skip kind of do the same thing, where it's like Skip is the main person now, and then he's going to be arguing against former players, and we're going to, people will only be on there for 20 minutes, or they'll be on there for an hour, or we might have Lil Wayne on for like only Fridays or something like that stuff. And kind of like the hard part of that too with Fox is because at ESPN it works a little differently, because they have this whole studio. They're doing like, there's 20 different shows that are going on. They can ping in people from LA. They can do all of these different, they have like a bigger pool of people to bring in, versus like Fox. It's like they kind of had to go and make offers to Michael Irving and Keyshawn Johnson and to Richard Sherman and I guess Lil Wayne too. Because he's like the 5th most watched person on that show now. So it's like they're kind of working at that disadvantage there with that. And two, it's like no one also the reason they had to settle with a lot of these guys, it's like no one really wanted to go and do that show. And if you watch that show, which I've been trying to watch it's just a weird show now. Like Skip is hosting it, but he's also debating it. It's basically just kind of, and it's like no one is delivering like interesting, like, bold takes. It's just kind of like your generic watered down, like, sports talk debate show. And, the viewership, getting back to the viewership here too, I looked it up in December, because there was an article about this where now First Take, ESPN, they have a little bit of an advantage just because they're ESPN and they have the brand of that. They're getting like over 500,000 viewers, per show. Undisputed in December was getting like 120,000 viewers per show, which is pretty bad, which is a significant drop when they had Shannon. But now they're down like 30 to 40 to 50,000 viewers in a 2-month span. Like, this is getting very, very bad here. The show isn't good. No one's delivering like bold takes. It's just kind of watered down. And, it's like, because that's kind of the brilliant thing about First Take. They have this huge pool of people, but they're like, hey, Dan Orlovsky's going to come on today and he's going to say something crazy, or Brian Windhorst is going to come on. He's going to say something that's out there. They're going to pull in Kendrick Perkins, who's going to say that like the Lakers should trade every person on their team. And they're going to have some sort of like, bold statement that catches fire on social media, and people can freak out about it, and they can freak out about it on the show. But Undisputed, it's just kind of boring. It's, it's just boring, and it's bad. And it has just been an epic fail. And the thing is too, I don't know how you fix it, because I don't know if there is a way to fix it at this point. And at this point, if the numbers keep dropping, this show looks like it's just going to get canceled. I don't know what it would have to take for them to do that. I don't know what level the numbers would have to get to, but this is kind of like a prime time, like, hour for people to watch television in the mornings, and their viewership just keeps going down, 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 down. So I don't know if this show will get canceled. I don't know how fast it would, or how quickly it could get canceled, but and again too, I like this could be the last that we see of Skip Bayless on television. It just might be, because I don't know who would want to bring him on after this stuff. Like, is he gonna be like the Thursday person on First Take or something after this? Would it be something like that? I don't see him like joining somebody else's show, so this might be the last that we see of Skip Bayless. So That's kind of my conclusion on that. I just kind of wanted to point that out to you guys because even though I think the story of this is like, hey, Shannon's doing very well, but also Skip is doing terribly. Yes, Shannon's doing well, but Skip is doing terribly. This show is just getting terrible numbers. So there you have it, guys. Thank you for watching this video. If you got this far in a video, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. It just really helps us out in the algorithm. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.